Hi YouTube, Christine here, Skinny Brit to be, coming to you with my week. It's nearly 145 post RNY gastric bypass and my 57th week in maintenance, so I'm well over my year in maintenance now. Currently maintaining at again between 145 and 150. And for anybody that's interested, sometimes it helps to actually hear how tall people are. I'm 5'6". They keep telling me I'm taller or shorter, etc. But they say I'm 5'6", which is 166 centimetres for those that are in metric, etc. Sometimes it just helps to compare with other people. So I'm trying to think what has actually changed in my life post-surgery. And it suddenly occurred to me that I no longer consider that I'm on a diet. All of my adult life, it seemed to me I was either on a diet, waiting to go on a diet, about to start a diet, failed a diet, being nagged to go on a diet. It just seemed to go on and on and on and on and on. And I was trying to think if I still consider that I feel as though I'm on a diet, and I don't think I do. I think that's what's changed in my head. I mean, have my portion sizes changed? Yes, they have. I located the plates that I use now compared with what I used pre-surgery. This is a typical sort of plate that I use now, and usually it's only the centre portion of this plate that I actually eat. But again, they say you should eat the sort of size of your hand, but then supposing you've got bigger hands than others, etc. And also, how high do you pile it? And then I compared it with my pre-surgery plate. And it's not actually that much different, but volume-wise, it's sort of enormous. And in fact, you can see that the inner side of it, the side they say you should fill, is actually more than the size of my, or almost more than the size of my hand. So my portion sizes have gone down, even though I'm now nearly 3 years post-op, and I've really had to think long and hard as to whether or not I'm actually eating too much, too large of portions. It does seem to me that if you can eat, that amount of food, have you really got a small stomach? I don't know. Because, I mean, they freely admit on all the television programmes that you watch, etc., that this is a typical sort of post-war size plate. It's only in sort of more recent times, I am talking about Second World War, that plate sizes have just increased and increased and increased. And in fact, if you now go into a restaurant and you get dished up on a plate smaller than my normal size plate, you actually quite often feel a bit short, what do you call it? Not enough, not given enough, etc. But I actually find, I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say, but I actually find a plateful this size very often leaves me with very little room to eat a pud, or if I do have a pud, I will save it for when I really feel hungry, sort of later on. Because one of the things that does seem to happen is that I perhaps leave the table feeling quite full and not wanting a pud, but I'm hungry, I'm really hungry again before my next meal comes up. So by actually dishing myself up, if it's practical, a portion of pud to eat later, and again it's all counted, etc. So yes, I am still journaling. I tend not to journal absolutely everything, but I don't cheat on the naughty things I have or anything. Sometimes I overestimate how much I've had. It just depends on what it is I'm eating. But I do, in my Fitness Pal, I do create as many of recipes of cakes and puddings and meals that I make, etc. It seems to me every time I make some soup, I use different recipes. It just depends on what's in the cupboard and what I throw into it, etc. Like today, I've got to start from scratch, so I have a lot of frozen peppers left over from my greenhouse. I've got some swede, I've got onions, I've got carrots. So I shall throw them all in. I also cooked a chicken yesterday in the slow cooker and we ate most of that. I should probably chop up some bits of that to put in. In the last few days I've been chopping up some cheap bacon, frying out the fat and chunking that into the soup as well, because it just seems to add that little extra bit, etc. The other day I bought some lamb bones and I did the stew in a crock pot. I usually make enough for 3 days at a time. And I sort of feel as though I've got a dab hand at it now. I just throw in whatever I've got. I've got chilies in the freezer as well. I had an absolute glut of chilies this year. And tomatoes. I'm still picking tomatoes, despite it being freezing cold outside. I came in yesterday with a great big bowlful, and I do mean a big bowlful. So it's sort of become a bit of a laugh in this house of when are we ever going to stop eating tomatoes? But hey, if I feel a nibble coming on, I'll go and grab a tomato. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so these are the tomatoes. I grew 2 varieties and they really are a yellowy colour, these particular ones, and they're just about, at a pinch, they're one mouthful bites, because in fact, unlike the shop bought ones, if you try and bite them in half, they actually squish. But I've got, sort of all different sizes. So it just depends on how much of a I want. So I just grabbed those. But I also grew some, throw them on the floor, that'll really help. Some sort of slightly different shaped tomatoes. But yes, I mean, I bought in about 3 times that amount yesterday. So, from the greenhouse. So yes, so that's one of the things that I'm sort of, I sort of survive on or nibble on, etc. So I'm not on a diet. I don't wake up every morning thinking, oh my God, I must lose weight. But then would I feel differently if I'd put on some weight? That I suppose is when the pressure starts, when you actually suddenly realise that you're actually putting on weight. How do I retain this rigid control? Well, that's a strange one, because I don't feel that it is rigid control. It's purely knowing exactly what's in my food. I don't bring in ready meals. I don't do takeaways. I think on a couple of occasions since surgery I've had something like fish and chips or pizza, but again I've checked very thoroughly as to what was in it. I'm not a fanatic. I don't, if I fancy something I have it, but it's the moderation side of it. But it's not always, I'm not always moderate. So I'm not a goody two-shoes. I still overeat with some things and undereat with others. One of the things I insist that must be in my diet and that is fruit and vegetables. Okay, it piles on the carbs, but that seems to work for me. So I'm not living in fear of carbs, and I try to keep a balance between fats, carbs and protein, etc. And it really works for me. I mean, you can go and have a look and see, what sort of things I'm eating. But I do. I'll quite easily pick up a raw carrot and eat it, or pick up an apple, or I now have potatoes with my dinner. But again, only small quantities. This feeling of always being deprived and you can't have it. Do I have chips? Yes, I have oven chips, but again, I don't have to. I don't have as many as everybody else. Providing I've got a taste of them and a feeling of not being left out, then that works for me. I just hope that I can, my mental processes up here will continue to sustain me through that. And if I started putting on weight, what would I do differently? But I don't need to consider that at the moment because I'm not putting on weight. So anyway, I've rambled on about stupidity and or almost nothing, etc. But and it probably hasn't helped anybody. But I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I don't know whether I should put this one up. It just seems a bit rambly and a bit pointless. But anyway, we'll see. Okay then, folks. I hope you're having as much luck maintaining your weight or losing as I am, whatever. Oh, okay, I'm off before this gets too long. Anyway, bye for now. Take care, everyone. Bye.